few years ago, I didn't own a single investment property, and today I own a growing portfolio. What really kickstarted my journey was when I went from 2 to 20 units in just 2 years. And today I'm gonna share with you exactly how I did that so you can also kickstart your real estate investing journey. My name is Greg Schwartz, and I'm a Marine Corps helicopter pilot turned real estate investor and agent. Ultimately, my goal is to grow both my wealth and my clients' wealth through real estate here in Bryan-College Station. And today I'm going to share with you the hard-learned lessons of growing my portfolio from 2 to 20 units in just 2 years. If you're serious about growing your portfolio, this will be the video for you. Stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. A quick disclaimer, these lessons are very specific to me and my journey. They might not apply to you, but I really hope that you can take some nuggets away from this that will help you grow your portfolio and ultimately avoid a lot of the mistakes that I learned along the way. So let's jump right in. The first lesson I learned, invest close to home. You see, my very first investment property was in Huntsville, Alabama. At the time, I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina when I was active duty in the Marine Corps. And well, I had never been to Huntsville. It was a good market, it had some good metrics, but it was very far from where I lived. And ultimately, owning that property for about 2 years, I only visited it twice. What I learned is that in order to scale my portfolio, particularly for my need to control everything, I need to have my portfolio close to home. Luckily, I was in a position where I was able to move to a market here in Bryan-College Station that was conducive to growing a long-term investment portfolio, so it worked out pretty well. If you can, invest in your own backyard. I think it'll save you a lot of headaches. Oh, this is a good one, guys. I love the second lesson I learned. And this one is to house hack. House hacking is where you live in a primary residence and you turn that from a liability into an asset by creating some level of income. A very common approach is to live in a multifamily, and that's exactly what I did. I bought a fourplex, I moved into one of the units, and I fixed up the other 3. Now, this did a lot of things for me. For one, it's a great way to invest. But because I was taking on a fourplex, I was able to gain the confidence in my own abilities, creating the systems and the models to scale, but also the confidence in what would become future partners. So if you have the ability, go ahead and house hack. It is a great way to get started, and to be honest, I still house hack today. Our third lesson is to review leases and confirm occupancy. Oh, this one got me twice. First, when I was buying the Huntsville duplex, I inherited some tenants that I really had no clue about. I didn't look over their tenant ledger, so I didn't know if they were paying. I didn't look over their lease, so I didn't know the terms of the lease. I didn't really even look over their application, so I didn't know their qualifications. Ultimately, these tenants were less than ideal. In fact, my property manager did not feel safe walking into that property unless they were packing. That's right, when we visited my property, the property manager wanted to have their pistol with them before we walked through my house. Why do we need a gun to walk into my house? Because I didn't review the tenants that were in place. And then this bit me a second time. When I was buying my fourplex, that was my first investment property here in Bryan-College Station. We were supposed to be inheriting 2 tenants. 2 of the 4 units were occupied. One, turns out that they skipped in the middle of the night, about a week before closing. And no one really told me, and I didn't really think that this was something I needed to bring up or ask about or confirm, and that I probably should have gotten some level of seller concessions for this major change to the income, literally decreasing by 50%. But I was new and naive, didn't think about it. Then the tenant that I did have in place decided to stop paying rent. Ultimately, we had to threaten them with an eviction, and they also left in the middle of the night. Believe it or not, in both cases, I didn't have any information on these tenants. That's right, all I had was a first and last name. I didn't have a driver's license, no social security number, no way to send these folks to collections. Ultimately, they owed me and still owe me thousands of dollars that I will never recover. But that's all because of my mistake, not reviewing leases, tenant ledgers, applications, and confirming occupancy before closing on an investment property. Lesson number 4 is to take care of your tenants first. Treat them like gold. And I know this seems counter to what I just said. The lesson 3 kind of seemed like landlord versus tenant, but that's not the case. Lesson 3 is about failure to do due diligence. Lesson 4 is about treating your tenants like gold because they are the source of your income, the source of your cash flow. They are the second greatest asset behind the property. I learned this when I was renovating my fourplex, where I took all the money we had to renovate the units around me. Ultimately, this created strong cash flow and built great relationships with my tenants who would then stay longer, pay on time, and ultimately create the return on investment I was looking for in my property. So be sure to treat your tenants like gold. Lesson number 5 is more of a universal truth than it is a real estate investing lesson, but it is something I learned, and that is that your actions will speak louder than your words. You see, if you only have one investment property or no investment properties, you might be telling your friends and family what you're about to do. You might be looking for partners to help you grow this portfolio that right now only exists in your mind. You've read the books, you listen to the podcast, you're motivated, but you don't have a track record. However, once you buy that first 1 or 2 properties, once you roll up your sleeves and make the repairs, once you take your hard-earned money and put it into the deal, now people will start to believe. Now they will see the results of your actions and they will want to be part of the journey. It is because I rolled up my sleeves and house hacked that fourplex that I was able to convince my partner to partner with me on my next 3 fourplexes, 12 units, 1 purchase. It's also how I convinced a lender to give me renovation money for a live-in flip / house hack. That was $100,000 that I never would have been able to get had I not had the track record. So your actions will speak louder than your words. Get in, get started, then start looking for some partners. Have you ever heard someone call their property a money pit? Well, that's because they didn't do lesson number 6. I didn't do lesson number 6. Lesson number 6 is to greatly increase your renovation budget. In fact, I recommend if you're doing a large project that you've never done before, go ahead and double your renovation estimate. That's right. I learned that when I was doing a live-in flip, a house I was taking down to the studs. My guess was $100,000. And I had a very detailed spreadsheet to prove that it was gonna cost $100,000. 2 years later, I spent $200,000 on that house in renovations. Go ahead, just double the renovation budget. You will thank yourself later. If you're an experienced agent or you've done these renovations a number of times, I would still give yourself no less than a 25% buffer on your estimate. That means take your estimate and add 25% to it. Guys, this will save you in the long run and avoid the money pit. God, I wish I had doubled my budget. Lesson number 6 really comes from our 1990s pop group TLC, and that is to stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Guys, what I'm saying here is do not chase the shiny objects. If you take on too many new things with a new project as you're expanding your portfolio, you're gonna run into what's called unknown unknowns. These are things that are gonna bite you in the butt. They're gonna be expenses you didn't see coming or risk that you didn't calculate for. I learned this lesson twice. First, with that house that I bought, the live-in flip, I've already mentioned that, I went double my budget, meaning that my total renovation was $200,000 and I was only expecting to spend $100,000. Then I did it again. You see, I was Airbnb-ing a bedroom in that house. I became a superhost. I made a couple $1,000s. I thought that I knew what I was doing. I thought the next move would be to buy a 1960s Airstream, literally the shiny object, park it in my backyard, put it on Airbnb, and make thousands of dollars. Instead, in 9 months, I sold that Airstream and I lost $30,000. Lots of lessons learned there, but the big one is that I was taking on way too many new things and I was not prepared for what I was getting into. Guys, do not chase shiny objects. Stick to those rivers and those lakes that you're used to. Lesson number 8 might be the most important one, and that is to not give up and to keep moving forward. This is a long game. This is an infinite game. If you've never read Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game, it's worth reading. This is not about winning or losing on a particular deal. This is not about beating the budget or getting that property to cash flow. This is about owning properties for decades so that you can grow generational wealth through appreciation. Guys, when I had cockroaches in my coffee in that fourplex, when I went $100,000 over my budget, when I had to sell that Airstream and lose $30,000, when I had to evict tenants, when I had to go to properties in the middle of the night that were flooding, I wanted to quit real estate. I wanted to sell everything. Even today, on any given day, I want to sell every single property. But then I look back at the last 5 or 10 years of my investment journey and I realize how much I've grown. And then I project forward to what my portfolio will be in 10, 20, or 30 years. And I know I'm on the right path. I know I'm creating the sustainable generational wealth that my children's children will enjoy. And that's why I will not give up on real estate, and I don't think you should either. I think the best way to summarize this video will actually be with our bonus content. And of course, every single video I have a client-based question. And this question is really common. I'm sure you've heard it if you've ever listened to any podcast ever. And it's the classic, Greg, if you had to start over at zero, what would you do differently? And honestly, if I was gonna start with my very first property of starting today, I would house hack. I would use a VA loan because I was active duty military, but if I wasn't, I'd use an FHA loan. I'd try to buy at least a duplex, basically the most I could afford based on my budget and the amount of income that I was producing for my day job. I would do the due diligence on the tenants in there because they would be my second greatest asset. And I would treat them like gold once I had great tenants in place. I would definitely increase my renovation budget so that I wouldn't be surprised when I went over. But most importantly, I would tell myself there are going to be setbacks, but you're going to learn because of it, and you're going to keep going because at the end of this journey is generational wealth for your family. I hope that this helps you. I hope that because of this, you are willing to take action and start building your resume. I hope that if you're going through a hard time right now with your investment journey, that you know that you need to keep on going because it's worth it on the other side. Guys, I hope that if you got value out of this video, you will like and subscribe. And my only ask of you is until I drop the next video next week, you take it easy.